This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
Now at 5 o'clock, we are following breaking news from the city's northeast side. What Metro Police are saying after an argument led to a car crash and a shooting early this morning. And hundreds of new violations for a troubled Indianapolis apartment complex. What health inspectors found when they visited with renters. And people across central Indiana will be celebrating this 4th of July with some fireworks. But the important things you need to know before lighting up those sparklers. It is 5 o'clock here on your Wednesday morning. Thanks for starting your day with us. I'm Meredith Barrick, joined by meteorologist Todd Clausen. And Todd, we turned the temps down a smidge today, and that brings in some rain.
Yeah, you know, and that's because a little more in the way of cloud cover today, and that's the only reason why we may not get to 90 degrees here this afternoon, but still going to be warm, still going to be humid. And this morning we are talking about some downpour still. Lots of storms early in the overnight period up in the Chicago area and then into northern Indiana. A bunch of flights were diverted to Indianapolis from Chicago last night, and you can see we're still dealing with some heavy downpours and quite a bit of lightning up here near Delphi into the Monticello area. None of this is severe, but you have the heavy rain and the thunder maybe waking you up. Another heavy downpour there near Rossville over towards the Forest and Kokomo area. Then just some spotty downpours near Noblesville, another one near Anderson, another one near Knightstown, and as we slide off towards the east, another downpour over towards the Richmond area, just north of Richmond right now, but this is settling south towards you. So especially north of I-70 here this morning, there could be a quick downpour. If you're to the south, you're just fine. Probably not going to see anything in the way of rainfall here this morning, but then we'll kind of repeat this process later on this afternoon as we flare up additional storms. We're in the 70s here this morning. It's still muggy out there as we work our way throughout the day today on this getaway day before the holiday tomorrow. Partly cloudy skies for the most part, still warm and muggy, just not quite as hot as it was yesterday. We'll get close to 90 degrees as those additional storms build in later on this afternoon. Elena.
All right, thank you, Todd. Not much happening on the roadways right now. Coming in from the southwest side on I-70 from Ronald Reagan Parkway to I-65 downtown should run you about 12 minutes. So traffic's moving along just fine, up to speed right now. If you're heading out the door, now's a good time to do it. Let's take a look at this stretch on our live INDOT traffic camera. I-70 at Minnesota Street. You can see the conditions out on the roadways right now. Our drive for your morning drive should be a pretty easy one as you're making your way. Coming up in the next 20 minutes, I'll point out some overnight road work projects you'll need to pay attention to.
Elena, thank you. We are following breaking news this morning from the city's northeast side. That's where police say a man was shot following a fight. The argument started around 1:30 this morning on Alsace Place. That's near 38th and Post Road. Police tell us a man was visiting a woman when the father of the woman's child showed up. The father then tried to run the other man over with his car. The victim took off running, leading the suspect to crash his car into a nearby home. The victim tried taking cover from the suspect in that home, but was shot in the doorway. The victim was taken to the hospital in critical condition. At this hour, police are still searching for the suspect. The health department has found hundreds of new health code violations at a troubled Northside apartment complex. This is a story we followed closely from the beginning at Lakeside Point at Nora. In June, the Marion County Health Department swept through the community, knocking on every door to investigate the conditions residents are living in. Before the sweep, the health department had 29 active violations on the complex. Out of nearly 500 units, 80 residences allowed the health department to come inside, where 209 additional violations were found.
Because they are immigrants and refugees in a lot of cases, they're not prone to speak up. To find 209 violations in 80 residents that we saw, you know, you do the math, you understand it's a significant issue.
The issues included a lack of hot water in several units and one entire building. There were also trash problems across the complex. A local organization is now working with residents to help them push for change. You can find out more about their efforts on our website, theindychannel.com. A family is having trouble finding peace 10 months after their mother's death because of the condition of her gravesite.
Discovering what we discovered, I mean, it was pretty was pretty bad. I would want no family have to go through what we had to go through on this situation.
Larry Thompson went to New Crown Cemetery on the south side of Indianapolis over the weekend to visit his mother's grave. What he saw left him devastated. The gravestone was located in the wrong place. Nothing was engraved on it, and a piece of plywood covered an empty hole where her casket was exposed.
The stone still hasn't been moved. There was a hole in the ground, water sitting inside the casket area. We noticed the plywood laying next to the ground, and I raised it up to see what was going on, and we discovered that. And it, my son, he was pretty cheered up about it.
The company released a statement to RTV6 about the situation, saying the family marker has been placed at the gravesite as of today. We asked why it took 10 months to install the gravestone properly. We have not yet heard back. 34 pounds of marijuana are off the streets after a traffic stop on I-70. State troopers found the drugs after stopping a car that was tailgating another car in Henry County near the 132-mile marker. Officers say the drugs were in 34 individual packages. The approximate street value is an estimated $70,000. The driver is charged with dealing marijuana. A U.S. postal worker right here in Indiana is being credited for taking matters into her own hands, helping catch a criminal. Bertie Faulkner is being honored with the Postmaster General Hero Award. Faulkner works in New Albany, Indiana, and earlier this year, she suspected that a customer was trying to scam people with a money order. Faulkner actually followed that suspect, eventually leading to his arrest. So a big congratulations to her this morning. Fireworks are America's birthday candles, and we will be doing plenty of celebrating tomorrow during the 4th of July. Our Aaron Lish is live right now with the safety precautions you need to remember so you avoid any firework mishaps. Oh, look at you sparkling already this morning, Aaron.
Meredith, these sparklers are probably my favorite thing about the 4th of July. We have Wayne Township Fire Department's Captain Michael Pruitt here with us this morning. These things are fun, but they can be kind of dangerous.
Right. I mean, you see they're emitting a lot of sparks. And one of the big problems with these is, one, if you touch somebody with one of these, obviously going to cause severe burns. But even after they're finished, they remain extremely hot. So after you get done using it, it's very important that we have a bucket of water like we have down here below us that we would discard these in.
And for little kids when they're around too, I mean, these can get to what, 2,000 degrees, kind of like a blowtorch?
Well over 1,000 degrees and can cause serious skin damage. They set your clothes on fire rather easily. So, we just recommend there's a couple different types. There's the wire type like we have in our hand, and then there's a bamboo stick type. We recommend the bamboo stick type because the nice thing about those is that it burns away where the wire remains in place.
So we're staying a little bit quiet because it's only 5 a.m. There are some ordinances out there for when people do set off these fireworks.
Right, and you need to pay attention to your local ordinances on what time that you can set off fireworks because it fluctuates depending on whether it's the holiday. I mean, other than 4th of July, there are a couple other holidays where you're allowed to set off fireworks. So pay close attention to your local ordinances. There's plenty of information online if you Google it about when you can and cannot set off fireworks.
And another big thing, of course, we have our pets, but also all of the veterans out there as well. You should be talking to them about this.
You should have, veterans that maybe have seen combat, and, we start firing off a lot of fireworks, or for pets. We've already heard stories about pets running away just recently because of fireworks here in the Indianapolis area. So just be considerate of your neighbors.
All right. Well, we're going to, I guess, extinguish these.
Yep.
And then we're going to have a little bit more in the next half hour, maybe go a little bit bigger with the fireworks. But for now, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
Aaron, thank you. AAA says a record number of Americans are traveling this Independence Day. Today is expected to be the busiest day on the roads. 49 million people are expected to travel 50 or more miles from home. That's a 4% increase from 2018. All those extra cars on the road will likely lead to extra delays, and in some cases, as long as 4 times the average commute in some areas. If your schedule is flexible, leave early, and to avoid travel troubles on the road, have your car inspected before you leave. Well, Todd, some people might hit a little rainfall as well as they head off to their 4th of July destination.
Absolutely. All across not only Indiana, but if you're heading to Michigan, to Illinois, to Ohio, down to the south through Kentucky, we're all kind of in this same air mass here with these isolated downpours that'll be possible throughout the day today. So obviously, if you hit one of those downpours, either maybe get off the exit and just wait it out. It shouldn't last very very long or certainly slow down on the roadways. And this morning, we still do have a couple downpours left over from last night. There's a couple just north of Richmond, another one here just south of Newcastle over towards the Knightstown area. Then as we slide to the northeast, have a little bit of lightning mixed in from Delphi over towards Logansport, and another one south of Burlington here this morning. And look what happens here. Look how quickly these flared up near the Richmond area. This is a 2-hour radar loop, and you can see how quickly they develop. So we're just in this very warm and tropical air mass. This thunderstorm activity should fade away here this morning, only to refire back up later on this afternoon as we get into the peak heating of the day. So across much of the Midwest, it remains unsettled. Keep that in mind for travel plans. Lots of flight diversions and cancellations yesterday, and high temperatures today with the additional cloud cover, a couple degrees cooler, but still into the upper 80s to right around 90 degrees.
Todd, thank you. A new report is shedding light on the border facilities. The reason investigators are calling the situation a ticking time bomb. And a stunning ending to the murder trial for a Navy SEAL. We have the verdict and what's next for the man accused of killing an ISIS fighter.
Weekdays at 9 on RTV6.
This morning, 3 government inspectors are calling the jam-packed Border Patrol detention facilities a ticking time bomb. The inspectors released a new report with pictures after surprise visits to facilities in the Rio Grande Valley in Texas. The report says overcrowding and prolonged stays are creating health risks. It said 3 of 5 stations had no showers for kids and that agents gave out wet wipes in lieu of showers at some facilities. A Navy SEAL that was facing life in prison has been cleared on nearly all charges. Navy SEAL team leader Eddie Gallagher was accused of stabbing an ISIS detainee to death in Iraq. On Tuesday, he walked out of court a free man after he was found not guilty on all 7 charges he was facing. Gallagher was found guilty of taking a photograph with a dead ISIS fighter, but will likely not serve any additional time in prison. A man who was a pioneer in the auto industry has died. Lee Iacocca died Tuesday at the age of 94. He was once the president of Ford Motor Company and the brains and brawn behind the Ford Mustang. Iacocca helped design the Mustang and pushed it to become one of the most popular cars in American history. He also helped create the world's first minivan. Later, he was hired at Chrysler and helped keep that company from closing. Iacocca is survived by his 2 daughters and 8 grandchildren. Emotions were high last night in Texas as the Los Angeles Angels began the healing process after the death of a player. 27-year-old Tyler Skaggs was found dead in his hotel room on Monday in Dallas. The team's game against the Texas Rangers on Monday was postponed. The Angels decided to play last night's game against the Rangers as a way to begin the healing process. There was an extended moment of silence before the game, and Tyler's jersey hung in the Angels' dugout. A cause of death has not yet been released, but officials say they do not believe suicide or foul play was involved. Hurricane season is officially underway, and this morning Hurricane Barbara is churning in the Pacific Ocean. The hurricane is now a Category 4 storm with winds of 130 miles per hour. Here's the good news, though. Barbara is not just a threat to land at this time. It is expected to weaken in the coming days. The hurricane is moving in the direction of Hawaii, but it is far too early to tell if the storm will threaten the islands or not. And here at home, we have a little bit of wet weather headed our way, Todd.
Yeah, you know, we've been dealing with just these isolated downpours here and there across parts of the area over the past 2 days. Today and going forward, they become a little more widespread. So as we look at the weather headlines for the rest of the week, it's still warm. We're probably not talking about the 90s much longer, which is good news, but we are still talking about the humidity and high temperatures in the upper 80s. But with that added humidity and the cloud cover comes better storm chances going forward, but the holiday is not a washout. That is the good news in this forecast. More on that coming up in just a second. Here's a live look outside right now, where skies are partly cloudy. It's dry in downtown Indianapolis. Not the case all across central Indiana, though, this morning. 73 is the current temperature. The winds are out of the southwest. The humidity still up there at 90%. The dew point's at 70 degrees. That's still a pretty uncomfortable number for us across the area. And anywhere you go, temperatures are in the 70s here this morning. 75 in Muncie, 72 in Bloomington, 71 is the temperature in Crawfordsville. So it was A very active evening last night and into the early morning hours across Chicago and extreme northern Indiana. Things have calmed down a little bit, but we still have a few isolated downpours and a few isolated lightning strikes out there in between Delphi and Logansport, pushing towards Deer Creek. All these storms are drifting off towards the east. Another heavy downpour just to the southwest of Kokomo, approaching the Rushville area, and then over towards Anderson. A few heavier downpours. No lightning here, though. This is just some rain. And then we have a downpour near Newcastle, just to the east of Knightstown, and a few more near Richmond. And you can see as some of these storms up to the north kind of died off, some additional ones flared up here along I-70. So we're just in this air mass where it doesn't take a whole lot in order to get these storms to develop. These are just developing because of the outflow boundary. The winds coming out of that storm to the north help to trigger those storms near Richmond. So again, it's a very active pattern here over the next few days, but most of the storms will be during the daytime heating. These have kind of just maintained themselves, which is a little unique. So going forward in this forecast, a little more in the way of cloud cover today across the area, but overall it's still a partly cloudy day. Yesterday we had mostly sunny skies, but look how these isolated storms flare up once again 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon. The main threat would be locally heavy rainfall, maybe some gusty winds. We are under the marginal risk for severe weather, and also a little bit of lightning, but not everybody's going to see them. So it's just one of those things, once again, where it's hit or miss with these storms. It's not a terrible day for us, but you just have to be a little bit weather aware this afternoon as we build in those thunderstorms once again across the area with high temperatures today that'll be in the upper 80s. If you do stay dry, though, throughout the entire day today, it's not out of the question that you could get back up into the 90s for your high temperature. For tomorrow, partly cloudy skies. We build in some storms again throughout the afternoon hours. May have to keep some into the evening hours, but they're going to be hit or miss. Do not cancel your 4th of July plans because of the storms, because again, they're hit or miss storms. We're not dealing with widespread weather here across the area. We maintain the storm chance through the weekend, and then next week we kind of flip the script once again, get back into a more quiet weather pattern with partly cloudy skies. Elena?
All right, thank you, Todd. Here's a look at I-465, a ditch road up on the north side, and right now you can see traffic is moving along just fine. Actually, looks like a fair amount of people out there on the roadways for this hour right now, but nothing's backed up. It's not stop and go or anything like that just yet. Let's hope it stays that way. Let's take a look at the map up on our northwest side. We have a crash that just came up. The right 2 lanes blocked on southbound 465 right around I-65. I couldn't see this crash in our live in.traffic camera, but ISP dispatch tells me that one person was transported to the hospital with this. It's a 3-car crash, and again, those right 2 lanes are blocked, so pay attention to that. Overnight road work, right 2 lanes closed eastbound 465 near Allisonville Road, as well as the right 2 lanes closed southbound I-69 right around 116th Street. So this is an area I'm going to keep an eye on all morning long, because even without those lane closures, traffic gets pretty heavy as we head into rush hour. Let's take one last look at the roads. This time we're up on the northeast side, 465 at Fall Creek Road, looking more empty over on this side than it did on that north side. For the roads are dry for your morning drive as well, so it should be an easy one as you're heading out the door.
Elena, thank you. An Indiana girl's recovery is moving in the right direction. The exciting developments as she battles a flesh-eating bacteria. And as we celebrate our independence this week, Team USA providing another reason to celebrate. We'll show you the big win over England to advance to the World Cup final. That's coming up.
Sponsored by Citizens Energy Group.
A 12-year-old girl from Indiana is recovering from a flesh-eating bacteria. Kylie Parker got it while visiting Florida with her family. IU Health says she is taking her first steps since doctors were able to save her leg. Kylie's mom says her daughter's determination made it possible.
She's come a long way in such a very short time. To see her determination, her drive to get better, it's been emotional.
IU Health says Kylie's infection is completely under control. She is now in the long process of physical therapy as her recovery continues.
These types of injuries and these types of infections can happen to anybody. This time of year during the summertime, we tend to see it a little bit more when people are active, either in the water or just kind of doing sports and things.
Doctors say the key to treating flesh-eating bacteria is getting medical attention as soon as symptoms appear. The major warning sign is a minor cut or wound quickly turning red and painful. For the third straight tournament, Team USA is heading to the finals of the Women's World Cup. The Americans held on for a thrilling victory in the semifinals on Tuesday. All of the scoring came in the first half of the match with England. Alex Morgan eventually scored the game-winning goal in the game's 31st minute. She then celebrated that big moment by pretending to sip some tea with her pinky out, of course. And this was all on her 30th birthday. Another huge moment came late in the match when England was awarded a penalty kick. The United States came up with a huge save to secure the 2-1 victory. Now Team USA moves on to the World Cup finals this Sunday. They'll play the winner of today's matchup between Sweden and the Netherlands. After a team wins the Stanley Cup, it's tradition for every member of the team and coaching staff to get to spend a day with the Stanley Cup and do whatever they want. That has led to some pretty crazy days. But this morning, we have a pretty wholesome video to share with you. This is St. Louis Blues coach Craig Berube. He brought the Stanley Cup with him to the small Canadian town of Calahoo. At a big event celebrating the coach, he decided to let all the kids there drink orange juice out of the cup. That is a moment all of them will remember. And if you're wondering about some of the crazy things that have happened to the cup, well, it's been fished out of the bottom of a lake, used as a dog bowl, and was even used to baptize someone. What do you think you would do with it, Todd?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I would try to think of something really creative that hadn't been done before. I know, I'm sure plenty of beer has been drinking out of it. People have eaten cereal out of it.
Something creative and something to share with the community rather than just myself.
Ooh, maybe you could use it to collect some rain and measure how much rain we receive.
A rain gauge?
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Well, some people are picking up quite a bit of rain here this morning with these isolated storms that are moving through. You see them drifting off to the east. South of Interstate 70, you're just fine. We'll flare up additional storms once again this afternoon with more heavy downpours. It's another warm and muggy day with highs near 90 degrees. The time now, 5:27. Stay with Good Morning Indiana. We'll be back here in just a few minutes.
Working for you. This is Good Morning Indiana. Working for you.
A man is shot following an argument on the northeast side. Breaking now at 5:30. What police are saying about the relationship between the suspect and the victim. Plus, residents at a local apartment complex say they are fed up after not having air conditioning for weeks. Working for you, we're taking concerns to complex management to get the AC flowing again. It is 5:30 here on your Wednesday morning. We hope you're having a great morning so far. A bit cooler out there right now and some rain heading our way. Meteorologist Todd Clausen is going to let us know when we can expect that.
Yeah, you know, we're kind of transitioning today from what was that air mass when we were in the 90s and just these pop-up storms to temperatures today slightly cooler due to more in the way of cloud cover, but better storm chances in the forecast. And already here this morning, we have a few downpours out there, although they are starting to weaken. One near Logansport, one just south of Kokomo. And then as we slide off towards the east a little bit, we have this heavier downpour right on I-69 there as you work your way just north of Anderson, then off towards the east here near Fountain City. Downpour continues to diminish. So these downpours flare up, it rains heavy, and then they move off. You notice how quick here in Illinois, watch how that flares up pretty quick north of Effingham there. And that's just the air mass we're in. There's a lot of instability in the atmosphere. And so once we get into the afternoon hours and we have some sunshine out there, we'll flare up additional storms later on this afternoon. But in between, skies will be partly cloudy. Temperatures today just slightly cooler than they have been. Instead of the low 90s, we're probably in the upper 80s to right around 90 degrees. But the downpours this afternoon will be a little more numerous. It is a day I think you probably want to have your umbrella handy if you're going to be out and about later on this afternoon. Elena.
All right, thank you, Todd. The good news is no major problems out there on the roads right now. We do have, you can see traffic here on I-465 Rockville Road, and the roads are dry, but we do have a crash on our map. So this is up on our northwest side. So the right two lanes are currently blocked southbound 465 at I-65. So just keep it in mind if it's part of your drive. ISP dispatch tells me there were 3 cars involved in this crash and only 1 person was transported to the hospital. So for now, the major problem with this is just those lanes being closed. Let's take one last look at the roads on northeast side 465 at Fall Creek Road. The roads are dry for your drive. If you're heading out for 4th of July festivities, the best times to leave and early in the day, as Todd was telling us, there might be some rainfall later on.
Elena, thank you. Breaking overnight, one person was rushed to the hospital following a fight on the city's northeast side. The argument started around 1:30 this morning on Alsace Place. That's near 38th and Post Road. Police tell us a man was visiting a woman when the father of the woman's child showed up. The father then tried to run the other man over with his car. The victim took off running, leading the suspect to crash his car into a nearby home. The victim tried taking cover from the suspect in the home, but was shot in the doorway. The victim was taken to the hospital in critical condition. At this hour, police are still searching for the suspect. Cleanup will continue this morning in Delaware County following strong storms on Tuesday. We received reports of several trees down around Muncie. The Delaware County EMA director says parts of a metal roof were blown into the Restore building. The good news is no injuries were reported. And with more summer thunderstorms in the forecast, it is a good idea to check out the IndyChannel.com before making your plans for the day. Don't forget, you can also download the free Storm Shield app on your mobile device to take Storm Team 6 with you wherever you go. We are working to get help for a woman who is struggling to get through this heat wave without air conditioning. She tells RTV6 it's not just a matter of being uncomfortable, it is a serious health issue for her son who has asthma.
He's wheezing at night, he's coughing really bad at night, he has to get breathing treatments a lot.
The woman who asked us not to share her identity called RTV6 after repeatedly asking her apartment management to fix the air. She lives in the Greenway complex on the east side of Indianapolis.
Every time we call, we get no response. We've even called blocks a couple times, and they'll answer that call, but they won't answer a regular number, and it's just, they just refuse to fix it. Called the health department. I've made multiple complaints. I haven't even gotten a phone call back. When I reached out to you, you contact me immediately.
Other people who live in the complex tell RTV6 a lack of air conditioning is a problem in several units. We went to the leasing office to get more details, but we were told the property manager was not in and that we would get a call. We are still waiting to hear back. Heating and cooling your home could cost a lot more in the future if Duke Energy gets its way. The utility company, which is the largest in Indiana, is proposing a 19% rate hike. If approved, the change would be phased in over 2 years with a 17% increase starting next year and a 2% increase in 2021. The request will go before the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. The commission will hold public meetings before making a decision. Meanwhile, Indiana and Michigan Power is also proposing a rate change. If approved, I&M's proposal would increase monthly residential electric bills about $23 per 1,000 kilowatt hours. The electric company says the rate hike would help cover increases in operating and maintenance costs. A public hearing is scheduled for 6 p.m. on July 15th at the Pittenger Student Center on Ball State University's campus. Drivers under the influence of drugs is a growing and dangerous trend on Indiana roads, according to a new report. It's a problem Call 6 Investigates Kara Kenny exposed back in May. The Criminal Justice Institute and IU Public Policy Institute analyzed crash statistics from 2018. They found the drivers killed in deadly crashes, 45% tested positive for drugs compared to 38% who were alcohol impaired. Will Wingfield with the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute says people are getting the message about drinking and driving, but not about using drugs and getting behind the wheel.
It can be any type of drug, even over-the-counter medications, and it could be combined with alcohol or another drug. So really, if you're taking something new, you need to either see how your body reacts to it or talk to your doctor before you get behind the wheel. That's the most important part.
The Institute is helping to address the problem by securing funding for more drug recognition experts who are trained in detecting when a driver is on drugs. They're also helping to reduce the backlog at the state's toxicology lab so they can process more impaired driver cases. We have tips on how you can spot a drug driver in this story on the RTV6 app. 2 more Indiana counties now report finding mosquitoes carrying the West Nile virus. Health officials here in Marion County and Hamilton County say they have found mosquitoes with the virus for the first time this year. The announcement comes 1 day after state officials reported mosquitoes in Elkhart and Clark counties tested positive for West Nile virus. No human cases of West Nile virus disease have been detected so far in 2019. About 1 in 5 people who are infected with West Nile develop a fever and other symptoms. Crane Army ammunition activity in southern Indiana has a new leader this morning. Colonel Stephen Dondero takes over as commander. A traditional swearing-in ceremony was held on Tuesday. Dondero takes over for Brigadier General Michael Garlington, who is retiring after 27 years of service. The new commander says he has big shoes to fill, but he is ready to tackle the role. It is 5:38 and it's almost time to celebrate Independence Day. And you know what that means? A lot of fireworks shows. Working for you, our Aaron Lish is live with the safety measures you should take if you're handling fireworks yourself. Hey, Aaron.
Good morning. So we have these sparklers. They're so much fun. We have Captain Michael Pruitt here with us from Wayne Township Fire Department. So we have these, but we're going to move on to the bigger level fireworks, these pyrotechnics.
So, you know, what we've done here is we've prepared our shoot site. So we're kind of out here where we got space around us. We've got nice solid platforms. We took our mortar shells, we screwed those to the board, so that'll hold those in place and they won't fall over. But we're going to start out with the sparklers. I got my fire extinguisher, I got my bucket of water to discard any hot fireworks in. So we're going to light these off. And so, like I said, make sure everyone's back. You know, usually just sprays out a shower of sparks. So I'll go ahead and light.
And how important is it to make that distance away from these fireworks? I mean, I know they can tip over and they can cause some damage.
You know, I would make sure that you were at least 50, maybe even more 100 feet, depending on the types of fireworks you're using, away from any type of structures. So if you got a small backyard, probably not a good place to be shooting off fireworks. So go to an actual shoot site and shoot your fireworks there, or just simply go watch fireworks that are professionally done. Now, you notice we both have our safety glasses on this morning. You should always wear your safety glasses when we're shooting off fireworks. Very important tool.
And we were just talking about, you know, the Indianapolis EMS. They had 4 major injuries this last year. So it's always important to take precaution when you are out here.
Absolutely. And if you do have somebody that gets injured, especially any type of burn, probably needs to get taken care of right away. So especially with children, we want to get them medical attention. But if you keep children away from fireworks and just let the adults deal with setting them off, then we won't have that problem.
All right, so we are going to wake some people up this morning with these mortars in the next half hour. But for now, we'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Certainly good tips here as we get into the 4th of July and throughout the entire weekend. I'm sure those fireworks will be going off. This morning, we have a few fireworks of our own in the sky this morning. The thunderstorms are continuing to diminish this morning. That is the good news, but there's still a few heavier downpours out there. And we're just in this very tropical lake air mass across the area, so it doesn't take a whole lot to flare up these thunderstorms during the peak heating of the day. And today, the humidity is very similar to where it was yesterday, in that very muggy to that instant sweat category. The actual temperature is down a few degrees today compared to yesterday. We probably don't get up into the 90s today in most locations. Most of the locations probably in the upper 80s. It's still a good day for the pool with partly cloudy skies, but the thunderstorms do become a little more numerous, I think, this afternoon and into the evening hours. And obviously, if a thunderstorm does come into your area, you need to get out of the pool and inside with the lightning that will be around. We'll talk more about your 4th of July fireworks forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
Todd, thank you. This video of a woman licking a tub of ice cream inside a grocery store has now gone viral. After the break, how the ice cream's manufacturer is vowing to take action against the woman. Elena.
And here's a look at I-65 at Washington Street downtown. You can see traffic is beginning to pick up out there on the roadways, but the good news is everything's moving along. No delays out there just yet. The roads are dry. Looks like an easy drive. Time now 5:42. You're watching RTV6. We'll see you after the break.
Meningitis B vaccine.
We are 13 days away from you pitching your great idea. A casting call for the TV show Shark Tank is happening July 16th at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Gates open at 6 a.m. More details are on the RTV6 app and the IndyChannel.com. Here's a look at some of the news expected to make headlines today. The TSA says it expects to screen more than 12 million people over the 4th of July holiday starting today. They say the busiest travel day at the airports is expected to be Sunday. AAA Motor Club expects nearly 49 million Americans to hit the roads, rails, or skies this 4th of July. And the Netherlands and Sweden square off today in the FIFA Women's World Cup semifinal in France. The U.S. will face the winner of today's game in the final on Sunday. It is the U.S. third straight appearance in the World Cup title match. More than 6 weeks after a deadly home explosion in Jeffersonville, the neighborhood is still in disrepair. This is what Assembly Drive looks like today. Damaged homes boarded up, a fence now surrounding what used to be a home. The natural gas explosion happened May 19th. William Phillips was killed, his wife Janet seriously injured. She's been in the hospital in a medically induced coma, but is now awake and about to begin rehabilitation. That is expected to take several months. About a dozen homes in the Capitol Hills neighborhood are still condemned, at least temporarily, until inspections are done. The internet is pretty grossed out over this one. Bluebell now looking for an ice cream liquor. Video of a woman licking a tub of Bluebell ice cream, then putting it back in a grocery store freezer has attracted the attention of millions. Bluebell says they are working with law enforcement and say this type of incident will not be tolerated. Some are questioning why the ice cream wasn't sealed. Bluebell said during their production, half gallons like the one in the video are flipped upside down and then sent to a hardening room. And you know, Todd, I hope this incident doesn't mean the ice cream will be locked up a la cough medicine and other items that now you have to get a worker to unlock for you.
It's one dumb girl out there, right, that is opening and licking it and putting it in the thing. I mean, I remember you never had seals on ice cream, so hopefully they don't change. All right, outside right now we are dealing with some isolated downpours here across parts of the area. We have one downpour that's just to the southwest of Muncie and south of Mount Pleasant there near Indiana State Road 67 there has made its way across Interstate 69 as we make our way over just north of Terre Haute. There's a few isolated downpours as well. No lightning here, but I'm going to put this into motion and watch how quickly these downpours flared up. This is an hour loop, and so these downpours just really flared up very, very quickly, and we're just in this very warm tropical-like air mass across the area, and it's not going to take a whole lot to flare up additional storms here throughout the day today. In between, lots of dry hours, very similar to yesterday. The one difference is yesterday and really on Monday as well, we had that bright, hazy sunshine. Today, we're going to have a little more in the way of cloud cover at times, but notice how these showers are starting to diminish here in northern locations. That is the good news, but again, we'll refire things up later on this afternoon because overall, things are pretty unsettled here across the area. Here's a live look outside right now, and you can see the haze that we have out there. It's 73 degrees. That is the current temperature. The dew point's at 70 degrees. That's in that uncomfortable territory for us here, and we're going to stay with that dew point right around 70 degrees throughout a good portion of the day today, and so it's not going to change humidity-wise across the area. Obviously, the temperatures will start to go up as we work our way throughout the afternoon hours. 72 in Bloomington right now, 71 in Richmond, 70 is the current temperature in Peru. So today, partly cloudy skies. It's warm, it's humid once again. If you stay dry throughout the day today and you don't get into the sunshine, or you do get into the sunshine rather, you probably climb up into the low 90s. Most of us should be in the upper 80s for your afternoon highs with some storms building in. And a couple of the storms this afternoon could be spotty, borderline strong to severe. And watch, as soon as we get into the peak heating of the day, 3 or 4 o'clock, these storms fire up. They're with us throughout the evening hours. As soon as the sun starts to set, which is a little after 9 o'clock, a lot of these storms will start to fade away. And then as we work our way into tomorrow's forecast, here's your 4th of July. You notice the noon hour, we're still dry with partly cloudy skies. And just like today, we flare up some isolated storms throughout the afternoon hours. So if you do have a barbecue, you may have to take it inside briefly here or there in spots across the area, but I wouldn't cancel any outdoor plans. It's warm tomorrow, still in the upper 80s, and I think fireworks should be just fine across most of central Indiana tomorrow evening. Some additional storm chances Friday and Saturday. The next week, partly cloudy skies and seasonable temperatures in the mid-80s. Elena?
All right, I got some good news for you guys. Those overnight roadwork projects on our northeast side and up in Fishers, those have wrapped up. So they're good to go if you are heading out the door now. So there won't be any major problems with rush hour except for typical rush hour traffic. We have this crash, though, with the right 2 lanes blocked southbound I-465 at I-65. So ISP dispatch tells me there were 3 cars involved and 1 person was transported to the hospital. But the only thing you really need to worry about right now is that you're robbed of those 2 right lanes. Let's take one last look at those roads. I-65 at Washington Street downtown. You can see traffic is beginning to pick up, but everything is moving along. So it's no delays or backups out there. Let's hope it stays that way all morning.
Before you head out the door, it is time for the Trending 6. These are some of the stories everyone is sharing online and you'll want to know about. Singer Fiona Apple is making a big donation to help immigrants at the southern border with legal fees. She says she's donating 2 years worth of royalties from Criminal, her most popular song, to an immigrant aid group. The singer made the announcement in a post on Tumblr. Instagram is giving its users an easier way to start up group chats. Instagram posted this video explaining how its Join Chat sticker works. According to the site, users just add the chat sticker in a story for followers to click on. The person over the account can add and remove people from the chat at any time. They can also just end the conversation.
Got a nice birthday candle and came out and lit it for Pothole.
So fed up with the damaged street in front of his home, Frank Serrano of Kansas City, Missouri, decided to take matters into his own hands and get the city's attention. He got a cake and posted that he had a birthday celebration for the pothole on Facebook, and it seems to have worked. Within days, city officials fixed the potholes on Serrano Street. That's taken pothole patrol to a whole new level. That cake looks awfully good, too. The king may be the most important piece on the chessboard, but this Lewis Warder is considered to be one of the most famous chess pieces in the world. Only 93 pieces like this one have been found, and this one sold for $929,000. An antiques dealer bought the medieval piece for $6 in 1964 and has kept it in a drawer for the last 55 years. 95-year-old Ernest Andrus was a Navy corpsman in World War II. Now Andrus is walking across the country on foot for the second time. He started in St. Simons Island, Georgia on March 16th and plans to make it through every U.S. state. Right now he's covering about 13 miles a week and says he will be 100 by the time he is done. People gathered in Chile to watch the total solar eclipse. A solar eclipse like this one is when the Earth, moon, and sun all line up and the moon blocks the sun's entire surface. NASA says the eclipse lasted up to 4 minutes. Parts of the Hoosier State will experience totality during a solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024. Start planning now because Bloomington will experience the longest amount of totality. Mark your calendar, Todd.
Yeah, remember 2 years ago, everybody was getting those glasses and everything. So yeah,
it was insanity.
Right, Southern Hemisphere in Chile, great viewing down there, by the way, in northern Chile. So that's why a lot of people flock down there. All right, temperatures this morning are in the 70s here. It's warm, it's still muggy. We have a few isolated downpours out there this morning. They're starting to diminish, though. That is the good news. But have the umbrella handy this afternoon because once again, we will start to flare up additional thunderstorms across the area. They should be isolated, but if you do see them, there is the potential they could be spot severe with wind and heavy rainfall, the two main threats, and lightning as well. So just be aware of that. Temperatures today still in the upper 80s to low 90s across the area. So the hot heat and humidity continues, but that afternoon chance of storms. The time now is 5:56. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Yes, we will, Todd. And the 4th of July holiday is tomorrow. Coming up all new at 6, our Aaron Lish is breaking down the tips you need to know. It's how to keep your family safe around fireworks. And here's a live look across central Indiana right now as the sun rises on your Wednesday morning. This is a view to the north. Stay with us. There's plenty more news, weather, and traffic coming up on Good Morning Indiana.